Hi there. So thanks everyone for joining me. We're just going to have a little quick run through around what we've done for the last 15 months, I think this has been. It's been quite a long haul before I kind of unveil the 2015 version of the Book of Me. So how have the two of you been getting on? Hilary, do you want to go first?
Um, I started out with very good intentions of doing things and sharing those things that I wanted to that I was willing to share. But unfortunately, I think I fell a bit by the wayside with a lot of it. So what I'm intending to do is I'm going to make sure I make a note of all the have the hints there and just gradually work my way through doing it and trying to leave something for somebody else to pick up and have as a because I'm sure it will, anyone in the family, it will be of interest to them in the future, whatever I include. So
Yeah, I think it has been difficult. Cindy, what about you?
Yeah, I started out with good intentions as well and sort of fell by the wayside as well. I'm doing mine on paper. I don't have a blog. My intention is to put it on my computer eventually once I get Dragon working, and I am quite behind, but I fully intend to follow through and finish it, no matter how long it takes me.
There's no, it's not a race. I never wrote it in order to view that people had to keep up. If people fall behind, then such is life, I guess. The blogs, the prompts will remain on with the links from my website to my blog, so they'll be there forever and a day. I'm not planning on taking them down. Um, and that's the way I kind of devised the program. Has there been anything that's kind of in particular that you felt was a really good prompt, a poor prompt, something you thought, oh, I'm not sure about that one? Anything in particular?
There've been some, I think that's part of the reason I'm behind is because once in a while I come on one. I can't give you a specific right now, but I will look at it and I don't have a thing to say. So, and that usually is when it gets put down for a little while and then I go back to it. And in fact, I think I just recently skipped one because I didn't have a thing to say.
What about you, Hilary? Anything that you can think
um,
of?
not off the top of my head, but I know there were some that I thought, oh, what am I going to write for this? And then there was others that, oh, I've got lots of ideas of that I can what I could put down for that. So I think it obviously depends on some of it is going to depend on what your experiences are, and we're not all going to have the same experiences of things, and some of us may or may not have had experience of certain things on some of the prompts, I think. So,
And that's the good thing with us all being individuals is that we all do stuff. And even if we saw the same thing, you would take away something different perhaps from it. And I think that's quite important that it's not about necessarily the fact that there is going to be one answer or that everybody will write a really substantial post. Sometimes people will just write a few lines and they'll reflect on it and perhaps go back or perhaps see if they can have a different spin on something. Um, which is probably why, I mean, I've had some feedback around um, the current series, the series that I can't believe only has two more to go and we've done, and which point it ends at 70 prompts. I like round numbers, so it was not a mistake. I kind of planned it that way. Going forward for 2015, there is a different spin on it. Um, Based upon the feedback that I had, I did a trial through I guess the earlier part of the year this year. I kind of had a bit of a spin on whether what I thought would work in the same way that this has done, and it appears that it will work okay. Of course, with each group, it's a different take on it. I have done also the same 15-month program slightly differently with another group, and it has been like pulling teeth. It's been really hard to get interaction. Um, they haven't gelled at all. And that group all knew each other, and perhaps that was the issue, was the fact that they did all know each other and they didn't want to have that conversation. Whereas other groups, so in some ways it's complete contrast, the Facebook group where 500 people came together from across the globe and just are quite happy to support each other, have conversations, and just be there. And I think sometimes that's perhaps the nicest thing and the best thing about the Book of Me, and the way that it's been, the traction it's got, I guess, from different people, and the fact that many more people than genealogists have picked up on it. We've got a few people in the group who are not necessarily genealogists who have come across it from either reading my blog or from reading someone else's blog, who've commented and they followed the links through, and that's been really, really quite good actually. And I've had several conversations and emails from people saying that how good it's been and they've liked it. Um, and I think you take away from it, like with anything, what fits your own background, I guess. Anything you would do different, Hilary?
One thing I have done recently is I've actually put a link to your blog on a private Facebook group that I've set up, because I wanted other people in the family, because it was just for family members and that, to perhaps be willing to share some of their experiences of what they have had as growing up, or any of the things. And I thought the prompts were quite a good idea to perhaps get people talking. Nobody's taken it up yet, but I will be really, I'd be interested to see if anybody does take it up as a suggestion to sort of talk about this, that, and the other, because how one person sees something can become so much different to somebody else see the same situation. And I thought I'd try and make it a bit more what's your memory of this, that, and the other. So but as I say, it's other than actually putting each of the prompts up and sort of seeing how they'll feedback for that. I just thought it'd be nice to try and get other people to perhaps think what they'd like to put down themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as I said, the prompts are remaining on the blog. Obviously, as time progresses, they'll get further and further down the page. But the link to all the blog posts, the individual prompts, is where it's where it is now, and I don't plan on moving that page. And in fact, there's been, I think I released the new page of the new structure that comes up for probably, I've already may have released it. I actually can't remember, to be fair. But it's written and it's been hidden for about 4 months. But at some point in the future, you'll see it kind of release itself. It may even be there now. I really can't remember. And you'll be able to perhaps get a glimpse. I can't even remember if I've put the first prompt out. That's how bad I've got with my memory. So it may be there and it may not. But the link is definitely there. If you go to the Book of Me on my website, you'll actually see it. What about you, Cindy? Anything that you would do differently or have done differently?
Uh, yeah, I might stay with it a little better. I joined the Facebook page and I found it very helpful. I've been pretty much a lurker, you might say, and just watching on there what people had to say, because the reason I started this to begin with was I'm not much of a writer, and I thought, well, maybe these prompts would help jog my memory, and they have. And as I said, I do it on paper, not on the computer. But as I looked at other people's posts, it not only jogged my memory, I would see their pictures and think, well, I'd like to have this certain picture with this certain writing. And so I do plan to put it on the computer and add my writings. I've downloaded the prompts as you put them out each week and put them into a Word file so I would have them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's fine. I have had somebody in the last couple of months write to me and tell me that she has on a Monday morning, she has an hour and a half commute to work. She stays away all week and has an hour and a half commute on the way home on a Friday, and has the consequence of those commute. I'm assuming she's driving, because she has a whole stack of audio responses to the prompts. I did feel slightly concerned that how much care and attention was being taken to the road, but and I would hate to be the cause of any disasters happening. She said that it was really good while she was just driving along in automatic. She said that she could just think about, and she goes back in the evenings. I'm assuming she's in a hotel or some sort of perhaps some sort of digs of some description. And she says that she goes back, she listens to it again, and she types it up in more detail. And she says that listening to herself discuss the prompt with herself has been really, really interesting. And I've not had anyone, I don't think, do that. I've had some people tell me that they have done some audio responses to prompts, but not someone that's done pretty much 68 responses to prompts. But she's kept up by being able to do that. But of course, you can't see the pictures. She tells herself, apparently, which pictures to look for. And she describes things. And she said it's been quite interesting. I thought it was quite an unusual spin on it. I'm not sure I could have possibly have started listening to myself for 68 weeks. Do that. I think that takes some real spirit to do that, and I certainly just don't have that in me to do that. I can't even bear listening to myself on an answer phone, so no chance, I'm afraid, of listening to me over 68 weeks. So are you intrigued about the next set of prompts?
Curious.
It's nothing, mate. I mean, it's nothing at all revolutionary. What I've done is I have devised it slightly differently. They will be released monthly, and the new series is called In Deep with the Book of Me. It is going to be a prompt every month that will be released on the first of the month, and there will be the prompt hint. There is on 2 occasions throughout the next year. There is a spell where we will respond every day, but there's just 2 of those throughout the year. And the first one is I've got my inspiration from these from a variety of different things. The graphic, which I may have shown, I think I shared about 2 weeks ago with the prompt, and I can't even remember what the graphic actually, the words that go with the graphic, but it's a tree. And basically it says, I think it says one family, different directions or something. Hilary, you may have seen it if you shop in Sainsbury's. I don't know whether you do or not. But actually it was I walked past the counter in a bit of a rush, and at the corner of my eye I spotted this thing, this kind of, I won't call it a picture exactly. And I went back and looked at it, and I thought, God, that looks really good. And I almost bought it, except I noticed there was some damage to the one on the shelf. So I took no shame in whipping my phone out and quickly taking a picture of it, because it was perfect. It just kind of illustrated it wonderfully. So that's the kind of, it's the graphic for definitely the first prompt, which was, I was inspired by that, by something that used to be shared by a fellow blogger who used to do the Carnival of Genealogy. I don't know whether either of you ever participated in the carnival. There was various prompts. Every month there was a prompt released, and it was themed, obviously. And this particular prompt that I've used, the way I've written it, is actually Carnival Genealogy 110. So that may give you a bit of a clue if you kind of go and have a dig around, do a search by Google. And basically it's called genealogical plantation. And it talks about trees, which I know sounds a bit strange, but actually I think when you read it, it will probably make some sense to you. I've already answered my own response to the prompt, and I will release that probably around the 2nd or 3rd of January. And I plan to do a bit of a video and a bit of a hangout, I think, around the first week of January, just so people can kind of get into the swing of things and get, with it being monthly, it will, I think, be easier for people to keep up. It gives people a chance to read the prompt, think about it, walk away and think about what research they want to do, if they need to do any at all, and just think a bit deeper with responses to the prompt. Again, though, the prompts will be, once they're released, they will be online and they will remain on my website indefinitely. I don't plan on taking them down. And in fact, I'm already halfway through next year's set of prompts. This entire set of ones that will be released in 2015 have been have been floated in a different order to a group of other different people, none of which were genealogists. Um, and I was quite inspired by the responses that they had. Um, and that was quite interesting. And what I did in that instance was I shared the 12 prompts over a space of a few weeks. So we went through it much quicker than what you guys are going to do it. But it was quite interesting. I know it was interesting to see the responses. So what do you both think of that? Cindy, let's start with you. What do you think of it being monthly?
I like the idea. I hadn't really thought that I was going to do it the next one because I'm so far behind in the other one. Now you have me intrigued. I have to do it.
Yeah. What about you, Hilary? What do you think?
Um, a monthly one starting right from the beginning. I might actually manage to keep up with. I know I know every time it comes to my turn to do the worldwide genealogy blog, I have to think, oh, what am I going to do? But quite often something just at that previous week thinks, oh yeah, that might be a good topic. So it something comes along that I think, oh, that's I'll try and do something on that. So it actually having it once a month, probably I'm more likely to be able to do something. And
Yeah, I wanted to give opportunity for people who perhaps wanted to spend more time working on it before they produce whatever it is they were going to produce. And I also wanted to give it time so that if people think I need to come back and do that later in the month, then they could do. And also, of course, if you think about it, the current system for 4 weeks, if you get behind, you feel it's the end of the world. Actually, if you miss one prompt now, it won't make any difference. The prompt will still be there. They'll all still be there. You could just dip in and out as you want. And if you've managed to do any of the current prompts, it may well be, depending on your responses to the prompts, that some of the answers, discussion points, will already have been written by you. Um, I'm just trying to think if that's the case of any. Um, Nothing that springs to mind immediately, I have to say. No, I've just said that. Um, One of the prompts later in the year, or sometime in the autumn, well, my autumn anyway, sort of September, October time, I think, um, is there was a blog post written by the lady who writes the blog called The Scrappy Genealogist. I can't remember the lady's name, but she was invited by Tessa Keogh as part of the Legacy Budget Users group to do um, a dream trip. So basically, take a virtual holiday. If you were going to take a geological sabbatical, have a holiday, where would you go? What research would you do? And tell us and share it. Tessa invited me to join the panel on that day, and I can't remember when it was. It was a few months ago now. But if you use Legacy as the family history program, and you're a member of Tessa's group on Google, you'll find the link, and certainly it's on Tessa's YouTube channel. Um, that inspired me to write a prompt. So I came away and I sat up. It was about, oh, I don't know, it's about 10 o'clock here. I think that night when we did the hangout, because obviously if you're in the US, I think it's about lunchtime-ish. So I kind of did the hangout, thought I wouldn't be able to go to sleep straight away, and thought what a fabulous idea this would be for a prompt. So I took around one of the other prompts I'd already written and fiddled with it and slotted this one in because I think it gives people a huge amount of scope um, to write, because we all have dreams and aspirations and things we'll do if possible, and that perhaps might be something that you could tackle in the future. And there's a few other prompts that are practical in terms of go and create something. And I know that there'll be people in the group who perhaps will think, oh my word, not again. In which case, don't create them. Think about creating them. What would you do if you did create? And it's about exploring. Um, so there's several of those. As I said a little earlier, there are 2 prompts where we're going to write every day. Um, one of which is, I think it's April, and one is next December. So there's time to steer yourself and prepare yourself, and there'll be a prompt released every day just for those 2 months because I thought why not, and it's a bit of fun, especially in the link up to Christmas, and they're all obviously Christmas themed as you might expect. And I think apart from that, is there anything else I want to share with you on that? There's nothing I can really share too much, otherwise I'm going to give the game away, and you'll all know what's coming up in advance. So, any thoughts on that, Hilary?
No, not really. Not really. I'll have to have a see how we go with it and that because I'm assuming it'll tie since it's tying in nicely with what we've already been doing, then it's probably going to be an extension of that. So
Yeah, in some cases, I think they will be.
mm,
There's a couple of them that have got quotes where I've given you quote, and basically I'm saying, here's a quote, here's who said the quote, go and think about it. Not quite in that way, um, but there were several quotes I came across through the course of this year that I thought would be really, really good prompts. One I already had in a series I've already run, and that prompt, I got tremendous response actually from that prompt, and I didn't expect that response for it to be quite so successful as it has been, that particular one. So I thought I'd use it and just see what people take of it. And again, everyone brings something different to the table in a discussion. Everyone takes something different from all the prompts. Um, and that's probably what I like about the series is that um, it's something for everyone. So, um, Cindy, what about you? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, interesting. You said you're going to have us writing every day in April, and in April, my genealogy society is going on a trip to Salt Lake City to do
Ooh.
research. So it'd be interesting to see how my thoughts are when I'm on a research trip as opposed to how they might have been if I was just sitting in my living room.
Yeah, that's an interesting spin on it. The what will happen in April? There is um there is the A to Z challenge which happens in the blogging community by and I think the link is a-z challenge.com, I believe. And what you do is you start with A on I think it's the first of the month. It runs through to the end of the month, but you don't blog on a Sunday, which is really nice. You get Sundays off. So what I thought I've done is I've taken a bit of a spin on that, and I've used it towards and created what I've called a Book of Me medley because I thought that would be quite useful to do. Um, and I'm hoping that will be kind of successful and that people will see it. Will be released a little early because the blog prompts will always be released on the first of the month. Um, so I will try and give people a bit of a heads up um, towards the end of March to kind of get people sort of inspired and thinking about it and to see where we go from there with regard to that. Um, I know we've just had some comments, I think, from June, who's watching in the community. So I'm just going to very quickly just see what June has shared. Hi, June, if you're watching. Well, obviously she's watching because she's yeah, that's right. Fabulous, Jude. Thanks very much. The tree that states family, different directions, one route. Exactly. I knew there was a reason why I love that quote. And I really wish Sainsbury's had had a really nice one in that I could have purchased. And I'm hoping they may well have after Christmas. Because I'm sensible and I don't plan on doing any more grocery shopping between now and then. So, yeah, so I'm quite of hoping that April's post will be released a little earlier. I'll give you a heads up kind of towards the end of March. Um, I was going to leave them kind of so you didn't know what A's prompt was going to be until kind of the day, but I may well release a couple at a time just to make life a little easier for some people because I think people need to think about um, perhaps think about their responses and have opportunity to go away and think about it. And I know that there's been this big thing about if it's released on it, at least if it's on Monday, then A's on Monday and it should be answered on Monday. But actually, I'm not quite so hung up on that. And I think if it's not set in stone, then never mind. Let's just see how you go on. And there's one later on in the year about flags. So yeah, there's some different prompts, and I've enjoyed writing it and having the time to. I've actually done nearly all the prompts already. So by the time you guys actually get to the prompts, you'll have you will have at least something that you can kind of look at to see what my interpretation's been of the prompts. But I expect all you guys will have a lot more to say than I possibly will ever have to say. So that's good. We were 30 minutes late starting, but I don't plan on running for the full hour, just because there's two of you and me here. And I think I had hoped that we'd have more people here, but I think this is close to Christmas, and I forgot, believe it or not, that we were kind of a week before Christmas. Um, Anything else that you want to sort of share, Hilary?
I, I can't think of anything, no.
Okay. And what about you, Cindy? Anything that you want to add in?
Not particularly. I'd just like to thank you for doing this. It's giving me some time to think and put some things down on paper, which I probably would not have done.
I think, thank you. I think that I mean, I've enjoyed writing it. And if you've read the beginning of the history of how it all started, um, it didn't start off as a genealogical pursuit at all. It started off completely differently. And I've just thought what a fabulous I think it would be to utilise within the genealogical community. And as I think I've already said, that there have been people that have come to it from various other sources of doing it, including two people who tell me they have now started doing their family history because they were members of the Facebook group, and saw pictures that were shared by several people. They were inspired by several people who were writing blogs, which I think is really good. And I think that we all take something from it. And even if you don't perhaps immediately know what you've taken from it, that you do eventually realize what it's giving you a new burst or release of life and to do something different, and why not. I think we may well just wrap it up here really, and I'm just going to quickly check the community and just see if anyone else has put anything in the community very quickly before someone says I didn't perhaps check. um uh yeah, June wishes everyone a very happy Christmas, which is lovely, and to you, June. And she says that the prompts are very helpful in jogging my memory and starting conversations with my family. It has been kept private except for one or two Facebook responses, and I think that's absolutely fine. And I'm glad June's kind of prompt reminded me to say that is that actually it doesn't matter if the responses to the prompts are not public. In fact, at the very start, I didn't expect people to share them publicly, but lots of people have done. I've shared some. What I've done, I've shared some publicly, and the ones I've responded to, I've always kept them private, and perhaps just copied them to my public blog. Um, and in fact, I have just, at the risk of sounding rather morbid, I have just gone through and created my genealogical will and made a note of who's to get what. One of the things was the link to my private blog so that people did actually have access to it once I'm perhaps no longer here. Whilst I won't be shuffling off this mortal coil just yet, I think it's none of us know what's around the corner, I guess. And I thought it was important to kind of make a degree of preparation, I suppose. So I think that's probably it from me. So thank you so much for joining me, the two of you. I was beginning to get worried at 8 o'clock when no one joined me. I was going to be here talking to myself for an hour. So I'm glad that you two ladies joined me. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to close off now. So if you're watching, and we've got 3 viewers watching, so thank you so much for watching and for being with us for the Book of Me. I've enjoyed doing the current series. I'm looking forward to starting on the next series. And I hope that everyone has a lovely Christmas, and we will see you all in 2015 for the new launch of the Book of Me.